Hello out there and good morning traders. It is April 19th, 2024 and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. So let's dive into our recap from yesterday and then we'll update our session plan and levels for today. Looking at our plan from yesterday, it was neutral across the board with no real official scenarios. The main things that I talked about and discussed is that we were generally more bearish overall. And this particular area here was more of a chop area in terms of we don't have clarity in that zone. If we held up above, we were a lot more bullish. If we held down below, a lot more bearish. And that was kind of the way in which I was approaching the DMI from yesterday. Now, a couple of just quick caveats here about yesterday's DMI. The reasons why it wasn't an official like line in the sand type of situation were twofold. Precision around our line in the sand areas was lacking. And two, the risk reward landscape wasn't in the best locations on higher time frames to justify really extending risk. And that's one of the things that we monitor heavily whenever we're talking about context and narrative is how that risk reward landscape lines up at particular line in the sand type of areas. Now up above here, this was a good list area for us yesterday if we got there. We never got there, obviously, but this particular list area had better risk reward in its landscape overall, where if we were short, we had a lot of room to go to the downside. If we were long from there, would have had a lot of room to go to the upside. In yesterday's trade locations down in here, we really didn't have much room to the downside or much room to the upside from a technical perspective. And that was what we were kind of weighing out yesterday with the DMI. So looking at how it all played out, we stayed in this chop zone for most of the session. We, pretty much rallied from the open up into here. It started to stabilize a little bit and then rolled back over all the way back down into the lows here. Then we got a little bit of a shift coming into the later part of the session where we held underneath that area, giving us a lot more of a bearish skew to this market as this particular area continued to hold. Acceptance can happen in two ways. It can happen with rhythm, in other words, a rotation that comes up through a reference and holds, or it can happen with time. If we hold for a continual amount of time underneath a reference, we consider that time acceptance. And in this particular case, this is a clear example of what we would talk about whenever it comes to time acceptance. Holding beneath this reference, a little bit more of a bearish skew now because we're out of this like choppy area where things were a lot less precise. We started to see value holding, and of course we get a break to the downside on some news from last night. So the classic argument here is it fundamentals, is it technicals? It doesn't really matter. Just apply whatever you're using in the market in a consistent manner and things will work out. If you got skills in those things like technicals or fundamentals, things will tend to work out in that fashion. So whenever we were looking at a more bearish market, we started to see more bearish holds in terms of time acceptance. In this section here, we got a bearish release, even with a catalyst behind it. All right. So that was kind of the overall landscape from what was going on yesterday. Let's update our session plan and discuss what's going on today. Now, today we have an interesting landscape, mainly because we have a good clear line in the sand, meaningful on multiple time frames. Here is our list for today, and scenario one is that we hold below it, looking for this is the general target area for the hold below. Scenario two would be a continuation to the upside, and that would be a short-term opportunity. If we get up above this list and start to hold up above here, this is the first target for the upside. And then, of course, if it continues from there, we go to up into here, and that becomes the main target for today. So that's really the breakdown for the different scenarios for today. Obviously, we have a little bit more information out there from a, volatility perspective. If we push considerably lower today, we have some extra targets down below. And then, of course, we have an overall bullish area down here. And that would be kind of the end of the line that we'd be looking for any type of bearish activity. So if we get a pretty extreme day and our main target area gets, pretty much blasted through, the bullish area would kind of be the full end of the line. And same thing with what's happening on the upside. If we get a hold up above this line in the sand, a continuation, this really is our main target to start with. And if we get up above that, this would be our further stretch target for today. All right, so trade well out there, mind your risk, and let's get after it.